So AngularJS is a structural framework for dynamic web apps. Okay. So for example, you want to implement one mostly complicated application. Okay. So you can use AngularJS to implement for dynamic web applications. So using AngularJS, we can interact with the database and um, interact with the database. We can insert the data into the database, or we can read the data into the data from the database. Okay, so we have a number of features in AngularJS. Okay, so first of all, we can use HTML. Okay, HTML language as a template language. Okay, we can use HTML as a template language and lets you extend HTML's syntax to express our applications. Okay, here in AngularJS, so one important concept is single page application. Okay, so by using AngularJS, so we can implement single page applications. So that in single page applications, we need to create templates only. Okay, so for example, only you are implementing one sample application like home. Okay, with the menus like home, products, services, and the contactors. Okay, so you design the home page only. Okay, so remaining all are you need to create the templates only. Okay, don't design the total form. Okay, don't create. Okay, we no need to create, no need to design the whole form. Okay, just a template we can create for the particular part only. So that part will display in the home page. Okay, that is called single page application. Okay, only home menu we designed and remaining menus are templates. Remaining forms are templates. So that when you click on the particular menu like products or services, that particular template will display in the home page only. So here is the features in AngularJS. So AngularJS supports MVC framework, okay, declarative user interface and data models, custom directives and filters, DOM manipulation, services, factories, okay, unit testing. So AngularJS supports MVC framework. So MVC framework nothing but model view controller. Okay, so model nothing but a database. Okay, view nothing but user HTML forms. Okay, and controllers. Controller is a mediator between database and the user interfaces. So controller takes the request from the user, okay, user browser, okay, and request sent to the model, okay, which data you want to read from database. So that model read the data from the database and request given to the controller. So that controller again the result is given to the view. Okay, so the simple terms MEC and declarative user interface. So declarative user interface nothing but um, so templates. Okay, we can use HTML, okay, as a template language and data models. The data models we can create only data models means we can store the text box for example you are typing on some user input in text box, so the text box value, okay, so we can send the text box value to the server by using data models and custom directives. So custom directives nothing but uh, attributes. Okay, so custom directives are extended attributes for the HTML elements. So here we can create our own custom directives in AngularJS. Okay, so by using custom directives we can create our own elements, okay, our own attributes and filters. So filters nothing but format the data to express to the user. Okay, so for example you want to display the date format or salary formats, okay, to the user. So for example, you want to display date format, nothing but month, date, year, okay, or date, month, year formats, okay. So you can filter that data and display that data to the user. So you can filter that data. For example, you want to display salary, uh, like amount formats, okay, or ascending order or descending order, and DOM manipulation. So DOM manipulation, you can find the HTML elements in AngularJS and apply the data to the HTML elements. And services and factories. So services factories, nothing but so by using services we can execute the so collection of functions, okay. Services, so nothing but a collection of functions to interact with the database, okay. uh, and factory, so factory, factory will create the variables, okay, when need the variables for the services. And unit testing, so AngularJS supports unit testing. So here these are the most important features in AngularJS. So we can download AngularJS, okay, from angularjs.org website, okay. So compulsory we need to use AngularJS library to implement the AngularJS applications, okay. So open this website. So for example, actually AngularJS is a two versions, okay, AngularJS 1 and AngularJS 2. So AngularJS is very easy concept, okay. So when you compare to Angular 2, okay, so Angular 1 is also not very easy, so but compared to Angular 2, Angular 1 is better. Okay, so open this website angularjs.org and click here download AngularJS. Download AngularJS. So here you can download zip file, okay. So like total JS file is downloaded, otherwise you can use CDN file like jQuery, okay. So like jQuery you can use library for the AngularJS. So try the new Angular. So this is Angular 2, okay, angular.io website. Okay, so here we can use only AngularJS 1. So we can copy this library and implement AngularJS applications. Okay, so this is older version of AngularJS. Okay, this is the older version library, and this is current version of library, latest version. So in AngularJS, so the main important concept is module. Okay, so to implement AngularJS applications, so module is a very important topic. Okay, so without module you cannot implement, okay, you cannot implement directives, filters, okay, and services and factories, okay, and the controllers. Okay, to implement all these concepts, so module is very we need module for the application. So a module is a container for the different parts of your application like controllers, services, filters, directives, and etc. Okay, so for all the topics in AngularJS, okay, module is the parent for all these concepts. Okay, without module we cannot implement all these concepts. So Angular apps don't have a main method. So instead modules declarative specify how an application should be bootstrapped. Okay, so there is no main method like C Sharp and Core Java. Okay, so here module is the um, starting point for the application. Okay, to run the AngularJS application. So here the declarative process is easier to understand. Okay, this is simple step to create the module in AngularJS, and you can package code as reusable modules. Okay, so like we can implement the modules, okay, as reusable modules, and the module can be loaded in any order. Okay, so in anywhere, okay, in JS file anywhere you can write module. So there is no order for the coding. And unit test only have to load relevant modules. So unit test also very easy to test the application. So end-to-end test process. So in AngularJS we have prefixes. Okay, so public objects and the private objects. So when you write the public objects, okay, we have to use dollar symbol. Okay, single dollar symbol to use the public objects. Okay, for the private objects we need to use double dollar. So after that module, so directives. So directives also one important concept in languages. Okay, so without module and without directives we cannot implement anything. So directives nothing but a extended HTML attributes. Okay, for example, uh, for the text box, okay, id, name, placeholder, all these are attributes. Okay, so like all these attributes, so we can implement, okay, we can use directives in AngularJS. Okay, so we have number of directives in AngularJS, that is called directives, nothing but attributes. Okay, these are all extended attributes. So the prefix is ng. So directives are external HTML attributes with the prefix ng, and this is the core collection of directives you would use in our template code to build AngularJS application. So the first directive, okay, the first HTML extended attribute ng app. Okay, so use this directive to auto bootstrap an application. So by using ng app, okay, so we can create module for the application. Okay, so by using ng app we can run the application, okay, through module. Okay, there is a link between ng app and module. Okay, I will tell you how to create the module using ng app, and use this directive to auto bootstrap an application. Okay, so auto bootstrap an application nothing but to run the application, okay, in AngularJS. So this is the directive to run the application. The ng app directive designates root element of the application. So we can create this directive, okay, in HTML element or body element. Okay, so in HTML tag or body tag we can create ng app directive. So typically placed near the root element of the page, that is body or HTML tags. So for example, so create one sample HTML form, that is ng app directive. Okay, so first of all you want to implement AngularJS application. Okay, AngularJS HTML form. Copy this library first of all. Okay, so after that, first directive. So first directive is ng app. Okay, so if you create this directive here, okay, the total application is under the ng app directive. Okay, total this from HTML tag to this HTML tag is under in ng app directive. So if you use this ng app directive in body section, okay, the only body section is in under the ng app directive. Okay, only the body tag only. So if you use this ng app in div, okay, and div tag with ng app, so here also we can use ng app directive. Okay, but the total application, okay, content will be in this directive only. Okay, if you place outside of the div, okay, that code will not work. Okay, compulsory you need to place the total code in this tag only, in this div tag, so that we can use this directive in HTML tag only. So that the total HTML form is under the ng app directive. So anywhere you can place the HTML templates. So if you run this application, there is no output. Okay, just we uh, added the ng app directive. Okay, so and one more topic, one more step is we can create directives. Okay, with prefix is data also. Okay, so data ng app. Okay, so we can create directives with data ng app. Otherwise, directly we can create ng app. Okay, the ng app attribute represents an Angular directive named ng app. This directive is used to flag the HTML element that Angular should consider to be the root element of our application. Okay, and after that, the next important directive is ng controller. So after you implement this, okay, after you add this ng app directive into the application, ng controller also we need to uh, create. Okay, ng controller nothing but mediator between the model and the view, right? The controller in MVC concept, controller is a mediator, mediator between model and view, so that this controller also same. So the data is bind to the HTML elements through controller only. Okay, so without controller we can't bind the data to the HTML elements. So the ng controller directive attaches a controller class to the view. The ng control directive defines the application controller, and okay, so after that you can create that directive here, ng controller. Okay, the total body tag will is in ng controller. Okay, and after that next, so these are all basic directives. Okay, so here no output. If you use ng app ng controller directives, no output. Okay, so here you can observe here class equal to ng scope. Okay, but there is no class. Okay, in HTML tag only ng app directive is there. So if you go to inspect element, okay, So HTML tag ngapp and class equal tongscope. AngularJS internally attaches some classes to the HTML elements to bind the values to the HTML elements. Okay, when you use the scope directives. um, and next one, ng model directive. So this ng model directive binds the value of HTML elements. Okay, for example, we have one text box, okay, and the value no need. Placeholder is email, okay, and close this text box. So if you run this example, the text box is open in the browser, okay. So if you type this any mail ID here and you want to submit that mail ID to the database, okay, how we can submit this text box value into the database? We need to store that value, okay, in particular directive, okay, particular scope variable, so that the scope variable is send the data to the database. ng model, so that is the directive to save the text box value email, okay. So here the ng model directive binds the value of HTML controls. Okay, so after that we can submit this data to the database. So here after you write the ng model directive to the text box, okay, you can find here class, okay. AngularJS internally attaches some classes. Class equal to ng question and ng untitled ng valid, okay. So ng valid means validation class is added. So and after that next directive is ng bind directive. So ng bind directive tells Angular to replace the text content of the specified HTML element with the value. Okay, for example, you want to bind the value to the HTML element like a text box from the database. Okay, we can use ng bind directive to display the value in the HTML element. Okay, to bind the value in the HTML element from the database. For example, here we have span, okay, and I want to display text box value, okay, email ID in this span. Okay, ng bind equal to email. Okay, compulsory this scope variable should same, okay, so that this text box value saved in displayed in this span, okay, immediately when you type the email ID in text box, okay, immediately the email ID will display in span. Okay, so run this. So here when you type the text in text box, the value should display in span, but here the value is not displaying in the span because we have uh, defined the ng controller here, but okay, we have not implemented this. Okay, so for this example we can remove this. Okay, so now, so when you type this text in text box, immediately the data is displaying in the span, okay, because the text box value stored in this scope variable. Okay, ng model directive binds the value of this text box into this variable. Okay, saved in this variable, and this variable is bind to this span. Okay, immediately. So what value in this variable? The value is displayed in span. Okay, immediately the data is displaying in span. Okay, so this is the example of binding the value HTML element value and display the value in span. And next, ng click directive. So for example, when you click on the text, click on the button, okay, you want to display some result in the span or div tag. Okay, when you click on the button, the ng click directive allows you to specify custom behavior when an element is clicked. Okay, so in this scenario, we need to compulsory. Okay, we need to implement controllers. Okay, so without controller, we cannot execute the ng click directive. So ng click directive nothing but on click event in JavaScript. Okay, ng controller. So to implement this controller, we need application name, my app, and for controller name also we need okay my controller. Okay, so any name you can give here, and my app also. And after that, we need to implement the controllers script. Okay, so now compulsory we need to implement the module for the application. Okay, in the starting point. Okay, this is what we discussed. Module. So module for the container for the different parts of our application. Okay, compulsory for every application. So the module is very important concept. So here where app equal to angular dot module. Okay, my app. Okay, so this is the module creation. Okay, for every application same. Okay, where app angular dot module and my app. By using this AngularJS application name, okay, ng app directive name, we are creating module for the total entire application. Okay, so this is what the link between okay ng app directive and module. Okay, by using ng app directive name, we are creating the application module so that we can implement remaining parts of our application. And now we have to implement ng controller. Okay, ng controller. So when you click on the button to execute the function. So for example, take type equal to button and value equal to get text. Okay, and ng click. Okay, ng click display name. Okay, display name is the function. Okay, scope function. In this AngularJS, these are scope function and this is scope variable. These are all scope objects. Okay, this is variable and this is function. Scope object and scope variable and scope function. To call to execute this scope function, okay, so we need to implement controller by using app, okay, module app.controller, okay, app.controller. So we are implementing the controller for the application, okay, my application, my controller, and function, function scope, okay. So this is the syntax to implement the controller in AngularJS. So this is the AngularJS application, okay. So by using this application name, we are creating, okay, created application module, okay, module for the entire application, and this is the controller, okay. So the mediator between the database and the user interface, okay, to execute this function, to bind the value into this variable, so we need to implement controller. So now using scope, okay, all these are scope objects, right? Email and display name, these both are scope objects. So this is scope variable and this is scope function. So by using this scope, so public variable, okay, so here we used single dollar. So by using this public object scope dot display name function, name equal to function, so that scope dot email, email is here variable, okay, this name and this name should be same, and here we can apply the value to the text box, okay, binding the value to the text box, okay. By using ng model directive, we are binding the value into the text box. So here scope object, by using scope object, like okay, person@gmail.com. So when you click on the button, so we have to execute this function and display this email ID in this text box. Now run this example, okay. So click on this button, the text is displayed from the controller, okay. The values bind to the text box from the controller, okay. Through controller only we can interact with the database, okay. If you are using services, okay, to read the data from the database, okay, in AngularJS there is a services. So by using these services we can get the data from the database, and the data is written to the controller only, okay. We can call the services in the controller. So this controller binds the value to the HTML elements, okay. Directly services we cannot bind the data, okay. So the data is bind to this HTML text box from the controller. So if you want to implement this same concept in JavaScript, okay, so directly you can use text box, okay, and id equal to txt mail, okay, and button, input type equal to button, value equal to get text, okay. and id equal to btn get value. Okay, so when you click on this button, the text will display in text box. So we can use on click event. Okay, and my function here, use script tag. Okay, by using javascript, right? um, Function, my function name, and document dot get element by id. Okay, txt email dot value equal to, okay, so this mail id will apply, will display in text box when you click on this button. You get a text. Okay, so like this we can bind the just a sample text we can apply to the text box by using javascript. But in AngularJS, okay, same concept. So this is the function. Okay, this part is function. So when you click on this button, okay, this is nothing but a click event. Okay, this is ng click directive. So this directive works as ng click event. So ng click event. So this event execute this function in controller only. Okay, so already we implement the controller for the application. So to call the scope variables, scope functions in the controller, compulsory we need to take this scope variable in the function. Okay, so when you declare the, when you implement the controller, so for every controller the scope object is must and should. Okay, so without scope we cannot call the scope variables and the scope functions in the controller. So by using this scope variable, okay, dot display name. Okay, so this is total scope. So from this scope we are calling the function name, okay, equal to function. So in JavaScript also we can create the function like this. My function equal to function. Okay, so like this also you can create the function in JavaScript. So this is same. Okay, same like this. So display name equal to function, and scope variable where we are applying, we are displaying this data to this text box. Okay, so ng app directive, ng control directive, ng model directive, and ng click directive. Okay, so 4 directives completed now. Ng click and ng double click event. So ng double click nothing but okay, double click event for the button. Okay, like on dbl click event in and JavaScript. Okay, on click and on dbl click event in AngularJS, in JavaScript. So just okay, on ng dbl click. Okay, so directly we can use this ng dbl click for the double click event. Okay, for single click, data is not displayed, and double click, data is displayed in text box. Okay, the class is for the text box ng valid, ng touched, ng not empty. Not empty means the text box is not empty now. So, and after that, ng repeat directive. For suppose you are implementing one form, okay, you are implementing for one form to display um, total employees information. Okay, for example, we have 1,000 employees information. Okay, in our for example company. Okay, total 1,000 employees information. To read the to display 1,000 employees information in form. Okay, in form. So we can use ng repeat directive to display the records one by one in the HTML form. Okay, to the user. So the ng repeat directive repeats as HTML element. Okay, so we can create the HTML elements dynamically using ng repeat directive. So this directive instantiates a template once per item from a collection. Okay, and each template instance gets its own scope. Okay, for each and every template, separate scope will be created, where the given loop variable is set to the current collection item. And we can use $index to set the item index, okay, index for the records. Okay, to read the okay, 100 employees information, okay, one by one, and display that result into the browser. Okay, ng repeat directive. So same we can use. Okay, library and a sample code. Ng app equal to my app, and here controller. Ng controller equal to my controller. Okay, and after that I want to display particular I have 4 employees information. Okay, I want to display 4 employees information in table format. So input type equal to button, and value equal to display emp info. Okay, and ng click equal to get emp info. Okay, this is the function. Okay, scope function. This function is executed here. Scope dot so create the employees object. Scope emp info is the object equal to, okay, so JSON object, okay, or object data type we are creating. So to add the multiple employees information, okay, we can use flower brackets. Okay, the first flower brackets for the one person, and this is second person, and this is third person. Okay, so like this we can add the employees information. So employee ID, So directly 1000 and first name, okay, and the last name, comma, email ID, email ID at gmail.com, okay, and for second employee, same fields, pay ID, 1, comma, first name, Rajiv, comma, and last name, M, comma, email ID, okay, and third employee information, first name, so Prabhakar, last name, and the email ID, okay, and finally fourth employee information. Okay, Satish at gmail.com. So we have four employees information, and I want to display this four employees information in table format using ng repeat directory. Okay, so use table and tr, okay, and td. In first column, okay, first row, first column, employee id, okay, and second row, first name, second column, first row, second column, first name, and first row, third column, last name, and first row, fourth column, last name, and email id. Okay, so these are the column names, and second row, okay, only one row we created, okay, only one row created. Actually we don't know how many number of records is there in the database. Okay, so dynamically we need to display the all employees information, okay, in the view, so that compulsory create the rows in the dynamically. Okay, so we don't know how many records is there in the database, so but total records will display in the output. So here this is the first row. In the first row we are displaying column names, and second row we can use ng repeat directive and emp in emp info. Okay, emp info is the variable, okay, scope variable. So when you click on the button, okay, when you click on this button, okay, so this function is executed, and after that this scope is created, scope variable is created, and this scope variable contains this four employees information. So now we are binding this scope variable here, emp info, and by using ng repeat directive every time. So this is nothing but for each loop. Okay, C# or Java. Okay, so there is a for each loop. So like for each loop it will work. So emp in emp info. From this emp info object, every time one record is taken and displayed in the row. td. So for td ng bind directive we can use emp dot emp id td bind equal to emp dot first name td ng bind equal to emp dot last name ng bind equal to emp dot email id. Okay, so that the data is bind to this row table column. Okay, this tr is repeated for all the records in the object. Okay, dynamically it will create four rows. Okay, so ng repeat directive create the four rows dynamically, but we created only one row, but we don't know how many records is there in the database. So this ng repeat directive creates the rows for all the records. Okay, so now run this example, and click on this button. Okay, the four employees information is displayed in the table format. E caps, right? So now refresh this. Okay, total four employees information is displayed, but we created only one row in the code. Okay, in the code we used only one row, but four rows created here. Okay, dynamically four rows created. For each and every row, separate scope is there. Okay, ng scope, ng scope, ng scope. So here each template instance gets its own scope. Okay, where the given loop variable is set to the current collection item. So current collection item nothing but the result. Okay, and we can display index for the records. Okay, serial numbers. Serial number ng bind directive equal to dollar symbol index plus 1. Okay, index plus 1 every time 1 is incremented. Okay, so 1 2 3 4 records is there. Okay, to display the index for the records, we can use $index. Okay, that is public variable. Okay, we can use this. So this is ng repeat directive.